Coffee and Pan Dulce. How's that? Coffee and Pan Dulce.
Sounds great.
It sounded like a telenova.
Hi, good evening. This is Barb Bacon. I'm a community advocate here in South Charlotte. Generally, I drive people around and to doctor's appointments, and I'm getting ready to have my sign-up list for taking people to vote. Buttons, once again, are, I believe in healthcare for all. I've got some people that don't believe in Medicare for all. Gun violence, let's get some control of guns, and Black Lives Matter in honor of our friend Joel that passed away last year. So that's it, guys.
Hello, this is Jenny-Jaymes Gunn. I am a community advocate here in Charlotte, North Carolina for LGBT women's rights with the National Organization for Women, gun sense laws with Moms to Men Action, and anything that extends equity to all. Thank you.
Hey, I'm Christian Cano. You're the co-host. My buttons are Moms to Men Action, gun sense legislation, healthcare for all, Medicare for all, and also in my heart, Black Lives Matter on behalf of Joe Oldham, who's a guest of ours who passed away last year. That's it.
Good morning, everybody. It is the third Wednesday of the month, March 22nd. I mean, it's very bizarre that we're almost a fourth of the way through the year, and this is Coffee Pan Dulce, and I'm on here with myself, Jenny-Jaymes Gunn, and Christian and Barb. Of course, we've already played our introductions, so we don't have to do that anymore. In fact, I forgot how long we've even been doing it. It's been quite a while that we've had pre-recorded intro, which is weird.
Almost a year now. Over a year, right? We started.
It's been a year?
Yeah, I think we started. Well, I can't remember when we started. Anyway, it feels like it's been a while. But anyway, that song that was on there, it's called Cowboy Cumbia, and it's actually kind of a cute little song. Anyway, I thought I'd play that one.
Sound like something from the Toy Story or something like that.
It's actually a guy from Texas. Yeah.
I recognize him. He almost sounds like Freddie Pendergrass a little bit.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, I know my music for the most part.
That's right.
Unless you ask about math technologies or something like that, I don't. Other than Snoop Dogg and the Great White Hope, what is it, Slim Shady?
Slim Shady. What was his name?
Now we're really.
I forgot. I know. We're really dating ourselves. As Jenny said, welcome everyone to Coffee and Pan Dulce. She said, I'm Christian Cano, Jenny Gunn, Barb Bacon. Welcome. We want to thank everyone who's joining us on Facebook Live, but also those who join us on YouTube, and the thousands who listen to us on your favorite audio podcast platform. Speaking of thousands, the last show, as we predicted, has been our highest viewed and listened to show for the first week. I'm sure it'll keep climbing. It's already up to 6,000. Usually it takes about a couple of weeks to get to that point. But I admit it was kind of clickbait, but because people didn't actually watch the show who actually commented. But some people, thanks to Jenny, we had one person who decided to watch the show who didn't watch the show and still got sassy with us. So
Yeah, towards the end of this show, right after the third break, we are going to start reading and naming some of our biggest kooks.
Exactly.
And that's going to, we have a specific name for them, and you'll see that coming up.
Yes.
I don't want to.
They don't have names for themselves?
No, I'm going to use their screen name. So
their burner account names.
I'm going to say their screen name that they post on.
Yeah.
You know, and then I'm going to read the quote. I'm going to read what they say.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm not, making anything up.
It's from
these people write their
their own words.
Exactly. You don't have to make this stuff up. All you gotta do is let them talk. And I'm just gonna tell you, they
love talking.
I don't know, Barb. Do you go back and watch any of the comments made on our page? I'm curious. I mean,
Sometimes.
Yeah. We get some pretty interesting comments, and
we do. We get some.
The majority of them. The majority of the people commenting on our page aren't our actual viewers or listeners.
Yeah.
The majority of them see they either find our page. They usually find our page because they're searching for queer things.
Exactly.
So we put in meta tags for the show that mostly have to do with the LGBT community.
Exactly.
And the reason we do that is because in these MAGAs, since they don't watch the show, they don't realize that we know that.
And it triggers them. Yes.
Even though they'll put in words like queer, gay, transgender, whatever, and they find our show by accident. They go, oh, I searched this and this popped up.
Yeah.
And of course they see the title, which Christian's really good at, putting a title that's going to evoke some emotional triggered response from very conservative people. And of course they twist off and you can tell by their response to the ad, they don't watch the actual episode. Because they go off stuff that has nothing to do with the actual show, especially the last show where we talked to both episodes, the one last September and the one recent one. Because if they actually watched the show, they would understand that we really weren't pushing the term Latinx, but we were describing its origin. We discussed it. We discussed, the terms of endearment inside the Latinx community in Texas. That they usually say Tejano, things like that. And if you actually watch it, you would realize we don't care what you call yourself if you're in the Hispanic community, and it's more of a generational thing.
Exactly.
And the language evolves, unlike some of the knuckle draggers that are not, are MAGAs and aren't very smart at all. But they definitely don't watch the show.
That's right. So
that I saw one time was obviously a very intelligent person, but we really insulted him because of the comments like that. Well, the MAGAs aren't really very smart. And I was like, whoa. I almost felt like I knew who the person was, but it was interesting.
Well, before I forget, because I will, let's salute to our neighbors, whatever you're drinking this morning. And with that, we're going to go directly into Barb's current events.
And this is Barb's current events.
All right, well, welcome. So this is Barb's current events. Are you ready? I didn't share this. We didn't have time before the show, before we started taping. So I'm going to catch you guys by surprise on this. Are you ready? All right, here we go. Barb's current events. The first one. There is a person in Washington, D.C. who went around about a year ago, spraying groomer in Washington, D.C. on libraries, saying, just basically spraying the word groomer. Well, this person was arrested last June. He was arrested because he was caught as the person spraying this When he was arrested and taken back to his apartment in Washington, D.C., a bunch of child pornography was found in his home and in his computers, and a baby doll was found in his thing.
Oh,
so
my
that's
God.
the first one. So that was in the news. The second one, which I thought was very interesting, it turns out there was a report that was done that I guess it started in South Dakota, but it turns out that the religious right, all this anti-trans, anti-gay, anti-drag queen movement is not something new. It's something that has actually been in the works since 2015. It's just taken this long to actually perfect it. They some emails were leaked from this elected official in South Dakota who had been pushing this, and he had been sending these emails to these right-wing religious organizations saying this is something that we think can catch on, and they've released it, and it just happens to have caught on the last 2 years. So really the basis behind this story is this isn't something that is just we're doing this because people are outraged. It's a very strategically planned thing that has been organized since 2015. Yeah. The last one is, and I thought this was kind of interesting, there is a group in Colorado, a Catholic group. They are a nonprofit group, and apparently they have, were doing all of this research, I don't know what the term to use, op-ed stuff, where they were going around Catholic churches around the country, and they were using all this kind of technology to kind of bust priests who were going on dating apps because they were tired of the Catholic Church being in the news about priests being pedophiles and so forth. So they decided they were going to start this undercover operation to catch them before it came out into the news, and it was leaked. And so that was in the news saying that there's actually, it's being funded by a lot of very wealthy Catholics around the country, and they're based out of Colorado. And basically what they do is they go around churches, they set up all these like fake accounts, tender accounts, to see if they can catch the priest in these areas doing this. So very complex stuff. So we'll start with you, Jen, and then Barb, tell me if you want to comment at any of those in 30 seconds or less.
I don't even know what to say about the I don't know if you want to call it some kind of internal sting with the Catholic Church and all that. I think the Catholic Church is a pretty messed up organization anyway. It just the different practices and things that they've done for so long. Truthfully, how do you when you do this for so long, you develop such a culture of cover-ups and excusing these behaviors and all this. What you need to do is when a dude molests a little altar boy, is you just fucking fire him.
Yeah.
And turn him over to the authorities. I can't picture like IBM or Apple Computer or whatever, some dude at Apple Computer downloaded all this child porn into the Apple computer system to watch during the day, that they would go, well, we'll just erase that and we'll just transfer them to another office and that'll solve the problem. We'll send them over to Raleigh at the new plant. It's such a hillbilly enabler, stupid idea that, hey, he molested little boys in Texas, in San Antonio, Texas. Well, it'll be a good idea. We'll just send them over to the Philippines. What's the worst that can happen, other than Filipino little altar boys are going to get molested too, because he got transferred somehow. He's going to stop doing this, or they're not going to get caught. And this is why there's been so pedophile priest trials and stuff like that, which has cost them, $8,
Billions,
which they deserve.
Mm-hmm.
The South Dakota, anti-LGBT thing, it's just like, to me, one of the reasons we elected Trump was because it was really a response to the anti-black people of color movement that started because of, President Obama, the pushback from having a
Black president.
intelligent, groundbreaking, history-changing president like that. Normally, it's just like when we elected Jimmy Carter and we had this really kind, good soul as a president, because most of our presidents are dirtbags. And then the response was, let's take a really bad actor / shitbag of a human being like Reagan, and let's make him president because we need to balance out the niceness of Jimmy Carter, because Reagan was a piece of shit. He was an absolute racist piece of shit. And he basically was the Trump of the 80s. And it's so we tend to do that. And we got to remember that thing started in 2015. But what happened in 2015 is that we had the Oberfield decision. And
that's exactly what happened. Yeah, exactly. That's what it started.
Conservatives shit their pants because now the gays can get married. They're like, oh my God, first it was interracial marriage in the 1960s, and now the gays can get married. And they're like the gays are all going to rush out and get married and use up all the marriage certificates in the United States. We're going to have some kind of marriage certificate. They're like, no, we have laser printers. We can print off as many certificates as we need to.
Sure.
You're an idiot. And that's about all I'm going to say on that, because it's are idiots. They'll always be idiots. I don't even remember what the third
the DC groomer.
Yeah, that's not a shock. That goes back to the who farted kid in school.
Exactly.
Just rips ass right in the middle of class and then yells out, who farted? Who farted?
Exactly.
Anybody that's screaming this groomer rhetoric from the right, the guilty always scream the loudest. That's why I put up all those in my Instagram and Facebook story. But pretty periodically, if you look at my story, I'll have another picture of another article posted up about another pedophile pastor, priest, whatever. And I put on there hashtag not drag, hashtag not trans, hashtag not queer. Because 99.9% of the sex crimes that happen in this country against anybody come from conservative men. It's like it's a proven fact. And again, it's conservative men driving this because they want to cover up their own sex crimes. This is a anti-queer, anti-women, misogynist, enabler movement that are petrified. We actually investigated against adult women and actually did their due diligence, didn't victim blame. What a different country we would have, and we'd be going after the right people that are doing this crap, and we would actually protect them.
Barb, you want to comment on any of those?
Well, I heard about this guy in DC on the car radio, and the one commentator said, well, at least they're going to get him for defacing public property. And I'm thinking, that's the least? Maybe that's what they thought they could finally get him on, but then they go to his house and they find something totally different. I thought, that was justice,
Exactly.
Got what you deserved, and I was happy. So, the Catholic Church.
I thought about you, Barb.
I could go on a rant for 3 shows about the Catholic Church, about my Holy Roman Catholic family. And what got me pushed back and almost excommunicated from my family was when they were doing the 20% tithing of your salary. I just looked at my grandmother. I said, there's no way in hell that is ever going to happen. Gave her back her envelopes, and I walked out the door. I go to a family thing for months. And finally, one of my aunt peacemakers called me and said, you need to come back. I said, well, I don't live in Crystal Lake anymore, so I'll check with Mom. I'll show up when I feel like it. But, I mean, it's just, they still haven't apologized for that to us Catholics. Art's mother, who was a lovely, devout woman for her entire life, when that broke, left the church. Now that really says something.
Mm-hmm.
Two of my aunts also left the church. And I'm like, well, you know what? At least they're finally paying attention. Well, the only reason they do that is because they have kids now. So it makes a difference to them. They haven't apologized. They keep paying money. These fools keep giving them contributions every week. To do what? And then you've got churches that have parishioners that can't afford it because they're still having all these kids. And the church does not help. So you can tell where all that money's going. So apologize, clean it up, let priests get married so you don't have this major problem. And let's get into the, at least catch up by about 100 decades. You know, it's just like antiquated. I just, okay, no more. I don't remember what the other one was.
The far right group that's been planning this since 2015. Well,
they do these strategic things, and I'm just all right. I'll just wait and see how it bites them in the butt long term.
Yep.
You know, like you said a couple months ago, just get out the popcorn and watch, because inevitably it gets screwed up and it bites them.
Yes,
that's all I can hope for.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm
good points.
Handcuffs for Trump. Where are they?
Yeah. Well, hey, maybe very quickly. We're going to take our first break, and we'll be right back, and we'll kind of go into our topic. Oh, by the way, we're going to have the show today. I'll explain it when we come back from a break. So we'll be right back on Coffee and Pan Dulce.
Hey, y'all! The holidays are coming up, and what better way to celebrate locally but with Manolo's Bakery's fine goods and services? They have amazing chocolate cakes, is what they're known for. Tres Leches cakes, tamales. Get your tamales orders in early, especially if you're going to order for Thanksgiving, because they sell out fast. But they have an amazing bakery and restaurant there on the east side of Charlotte, and you're missing out. Plus, you should support your Black and brown businesses and shop local and shop small to really keep the economy going. Thanks for watching, and shop with Manolo's this year.
All right, well, welcome back. And exactly what you are talking about, the groomer thing, everyone knows. Or if you don't know, we're going to keep preaching to the choir. Whenever someone yells about drag queens, grooming, pedophiles, usually they're trying to distract you. They're saying, look over here, look over here. Always happens. I mean, is there a case where it doesn't? Yes, there is. But 99.9% of the time it does. And I'm still to this day looking for a drag queen who was convicted for pedophile of a child. I'm looking. Now, one will pop up because I think it's going to be like a conservative guy who dresses up in drag.
You're going to find one or two, but.
Yeah, you'll find one. And I assure you, once it happens, they'll say, see, we told you.
Well,
it's one.
Well, yeah, but it'll be a George Santos that used to be a drag queen.
Exactly.
So, there was a Texas Republican. I mean, they're still actually in the Texas Congress that was doing the anti. He wrote the anti-drag, anti-LGBT legislation that they were proposing the other week. Come to find out, he used to do drag. And did drag for quite a while. And you go, because there's a ton of Republicans that are sitting in some kind of official position right now that are shitting down one leg. Because somewhere there is a picture or a history of them doing drag and them actually starting to come out as gay.
And we need to highlight that.
And they started retracting it, and then went really, really conservative and wacko. Yeah, and kind of like these former people that were, former porn stars or drug addicts or whatever, and then they find Jesus.
Yeah, well, that happens a lot.
And they go super far right because they replace one addiction with another, and religion
exactly
is a very powerful
addiction.
And it's a very easy addiction to trap into, because, you know, you have some pastor going, you know, the Lord will heal you, and convince them. You know, if you say something to somebody long enough,
sure,
you condition their brain to believe it, especially if they're not real smart, or they're really struggling.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
They'll follow you off the cliffs of insanity. I mean,
yeah. So the second one about this, the leak story about this South Dakota representative who started this movement. He's a South Dakota Republican. His name is Fred Douchebag, I guess. And he started by sending emails to the religious right groups Alliance Defending Freedom and the American College for Pediatrics. The ACP is the group that Dr. B always talks about. It's the kind of the crazy group that says that COVID is not real, and it's like, I'm not. Dr. B hasn't said this, but they're like the loony physicians, like you know, they're like the far out there people who think, you know, anyway, those are the people who kind of started this, and it started in 2015. The last one, the Catholic thing, I thought was very interesting, because it's a Catholic group. They've spent millions. The Washington Post actually broke this story. They spent millions on an app to track gay priests, was the initial reason to do this. But they end up tracking more people on Tinder, which is more of a non-gay app, even though gay people use it, but it was more of a non-gay app. But to me, what's so interesting about this is, and Jenny and I talk about this a lot, and we, you know, we're friends off the show as well. But one of the things that's so interesting is, if you look at, and we've talked about this, it took these conservatives, 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, around 7 years. 2022 is when they really started doing the book bans, the drag queen, the transgender. It took them about 7 years to come up with this plan. And then every time they come up with the plan, they say, this is like a grassroots movement. Remember, they always start this. And remember when they did this Roe versus Wade, it took them 50 years to overturn this. The conservatives aren't really good at grassroots. They kind of event these grassroots movements. And then what happens is, once it happens, they lose their steam, and it's okay, let's go on to the next thing, because they don't have the attention span to keep it going for a long time. So if anything, I think we can kind of be a little happy that they're not smart enough that they can't keep it going a long time. Does that make sense, Jen?
But also, too, the stuff they say is wildly unpopular.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Deal. And
yes,
when you look like a stupid ass, when you start saying things like drag queens are a problem when we have COVID, we have a war in Europe, and you have all these other really major things that we really need to worry about. And all of a sudden, the entire Republican Party's asses are on fire about drag queens. Now, I don't care what kind of entertainer it is, whether it's a movie actor, a basketball player, whatever. We don't need to be spending money in legislative situations, because we're paying these people to be in these different state legislatures. Like, their time is our money. We're paying tax dollars to employ these idiots. And the last thing we need to have our governmental employees doing is debating whether we should have drag queens.
Yeah,
I don't
that
care
is
whether
crazy.
you don't like gay people or not. It is the stupidest fucking thing I've ever seen, where a democratically elected body of officials that work for us are turning on different people in our society. And
maybe that's the problem. They aren't working for us anymore. They're working for all these special interest groups, and that's all they care about anymore. They don't care about us.
To me, we need a federal law that when somebody writes a bill that is targeting a specific community or occupation, that person should be automatically suspended from that job. And that nobody in a democracy...
In the bathroom bill.
Yeah, bathroom bills.
And then he didn't own it. I didn't do that. What?
Anybody that is turning on society that is an elected deal should be automatically censured. There should be a safeguard. Hey, if you can propose any bill you want, because it's a hate crime. It's an automatic, it's a governmental hate crime, and there is no reason to keep somebody like that in office. We need to have specific, democracy safeguards, and one of them is dreaming. And I don't care what the political party is. It could be the Green Wheat Party, but the moment you write a bill that singles out human beings that aren't doing a fucking thing wrong, but living their best life, and because you got some wild ass hair or whatever your motivation, I don't even give a fuck what your motivation is. I really don't. You're just a fucking asshole, and you don't need to be in that. We don't even need to have a special election. You need to do your job and just sit packing, and they can re-elect somebody for that spot. And you need to have a lifetime ban that you can't run for office because you're just a fucking idiot and you're wasting our time. And no reason for the theatrics.
Well, I agree with you, Jen, and I think I'm hoping that America, and especially those who are not engaged, I hope what's filtering to them is the outrageousness that everything that the current MAGA Republican Party is about how much they hate other people. That's really their whole. I mean, you talk about on your show that's going to be dropping after this one. You talk about a lot of those kind of things. But one of the consistencies about every law that they have proposed this year was banning books. Don't say black. Don't say Jew. Don't say woman. Don't say gay. It's all about hating other people. And that's what's really crazy. But what I was going to say about this Catholic group is one of the things that I've learned about as a gay male, one of the things I've learned about groups that are marginalized, we can get knocked down, and we do all the time. But when we get back up stronger. Women do this. A lot of people do this. When people who are marginalized get knocked down, they come back stronger. And I'm saying we need to learn from what this Catholic group is doing, because we also can create an app to do the same thing for MAGAs and Republicans, to find out what they're doing in their home. All of these conservative MAGA Republicans that usually get busted for here in North Carolina, right? Where we live in Charlotte, North Carolina, there was a state trooper that just got, we filmed this on Wednesdays, a week before the day before we filmed this, a state trooper in Monroe who lives in Matthews was just jailed for hiring prostitutes.
Yep.
It's usually the people that you're like, I can't believe this. So anyway, we need to create a. Yeah, exactly. We need to create
and defend.
Exactly, to track. So with that note, we're going to take our second break, and we will go into our topic. The good news is our topic's not going to be long, but you'll laugh about this topic. So we'll be right back on Coffee and Pan Dulce right after this. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching our Coffee and Pan Dulce show every week. Don't forget you can watch us visually on our video podcast platforms on Facebook and YouTube, but you can also listen to us on your favorite audio podcast platforms like Apple, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and all of the other ones that your favorite, whatever your favorite is. Once again, thank you for watching us on Coffee and Pan Dulce. We'll dance out. Welcome back. I was going to make a joke here. Welcome back. So here's our topic. And I'm going to tell you how we're going to do this, y'all, because we haven't rehearsed this. So this is all impromptu here. Today's topic is we're going to start a series called the Coffee and Pan Dulce's Biggest Queen Show. So periodically, we will have two individuals competing against who's going to be our biggest queen of the week or whenever the show is. We're doing 3 shows now in the spring on this specific topic. So today we actually have 2 competitions. It's like The Voice or America's Got Talent, except you two are going to be the judge, okay? And then you can decide who's going to be our biggest queens, and then we'll crown these queens. We'll come up with some CPD, Coffee and Pan Dulce crown or whatever. So the first one, the Proud Boys versus drag queens. We're going to debate which ones are the biggest queens, and we will. It'll be the Proud Boys against the drag queens, and then the second competition is going to be Head Cruz versus George Santos. Which of those two are the biggest queens? So let's start with the Proud Boys versus drag queens. So whatever you believe queen means, I have kind of my belief, and you can tell us what you think a queen means, whatever. Let's start with the Proud Boys versus drag queens. We'll start with you, Jen, and we'll go with you, Barb. Which one do you think should be crowned the biggest queen, and why?
Well, if we go by,
let's see how this goes.
If we go by negativity, the negative connotation of queens, which is over emotional, ridiculous, and stupid. Proud Boys hands down. I mean, you can just look at their leader, that Del Toro guy, with his little manicured
handlebar mustache,
handlebar, creepy ass, pedophile looking mustache. Just how dramatic he is, just how over the top he is, how narcissistic he is. And you see the fact that Proud Boys are always trying to sneak into drag shows. I mean, they're just dying to see a drag show. You'll see them peeking in windows. And to me, nothing screams drama queen more than the Proud. Look at me, look at me, look at me. I mean, even the name alone reminds me of like a 1970s, gay porn star acting group or something.
Brown.
Yeah, like with big old mustaches and leather chaps and just big old queens. Just, I mean, Proud Boys are ridiculous, and probably the stupidest idea I've ever seen in my lifetime.
So you would say the Proud Boys in that matchup, the Proud Boys are the biggest queens.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Barbara, you want to judge this one?
I think of them totally different. Other than the violence that they were capable of, and I know they are because they're armed. Yep. They remind me of a pack of boys that were in my neighborhood. And there was a head guy, and he controlled everything that they did, and they all run around and do stuff, and it's like, and it wasn't fun stuff like, Spanky and our gang or something like that. Boy, that's dating me. It was more, let's go tie knots in the hose of this neighbor, more irritating, almost vandalistic things rather than positive things. But that's what they remind me of, although guns. So I agree with Jenny because what else are they hiding? I don't know. They thought they were indestructible, and look at where their leadership is now, but they're quiet now, which really worries me. But that's my reason. That's what they reminded me of, especially after January 6th and all the little different groups were talking, and I'm going, oh my God, this is like when I was growing up. Their ringleader got in trouble, and Jimmy Jankowski got in trouble, it was like, whatever. But it's concerning, but I think they're hiding something. Something else is going on with that group, and I don't know what it is, but
well, so who would you crown the biggest queen? The Proud Boys or the drag queens?
Proud Boys.
Okay. All right. So it's unanimous. The Proud Boys win. They get our very first crown of the biggest, the Coffee Pan Dulce biggest queens. They get the very first crown. I completely agree with y'all. This was kind of a setup. I expected everyone to pick the Proud Boys because, quite honestly, and this was to me, this is the big difference. Kind of what Jenny said, but I see it as kind of, to me, a queen is someone who is just theatrical. We use the term in the LGBT community, oh, queen, it's like, stop being so dramatic, oh, queen, that's just, but it can also be kind of funny in a kind of a way. Here's the difference. the drag queens make really good money being queens.
Yeah.
The Proud Boys don't. And so they're not very smart queens. And which makes, I don't have a lot of respect for people who don't make money off of what they're doing. And the Proud Boys don't. But I agree with you. It is so homo-ironic. What is the term? Homo-erotic? Erotic? Is that the term?
Oh, 100%.
Proud Boys are a very homoerotic group, very similar to evangelical Christian men who go on a lot of these all-men retreats. They like to do all of these, like Tony Dungy guy, who's a former NFL coach, who's he's part of this men's group that do all these men's retreats. It's a very weird kind of group, where they all go on these only men kind of things. Well, the Proud Boys are like this too. It's all guys, and everyone who's gay knows that if you're over 18 and you're calling yourself a boy, what do you?
Yes, exactly.
It's like no grown-ass adult wants to be called a boy after 18.
Just depends. But
exactly.
Man. Yeah.
But these weird men's groups, these conservative men's groups, whether it's the Proud Boys or Tony Dungy's, man bonding thing, or even pro football. I mean, pro football is pretty gay. I mean, there's a lot of clapping. Good.
That's right. A lot of gay guys watch football.
They wear those spandex bottoms that make their butts look, kind of gives their butts a little bit of lift. I mean, there's a lot of focus on the male body by men, and we just need to admit it, because I always say 1% of everybody's queer. Everybody has a same gender crush. I don't care who they are. But men have a tough time, straight men, they're supposed to be straight men, have a tough time admitting it, expressing it, that sort of thing. So they do these weird, look at pro wrestling and how all those guys go shirtless. They oil each other up with keel oil, and there's all glistening and they sit there and they yell right in each other's face during these matches. And you have to wonder, because they're like in kissing distance.
Yes.
And I've seen enough of these pro wrestling clips.
Okay, now there's a visual you don't want.
And I remember, especially big old Hulk Hogan.
Yeah. The
Rock. Because they usually play the heel or the villain in a lot of situations. And just how much they sit there and touched each other, and how they would just literally be in this weird, dramatic, man-on-man moments. And you really got to think back to just, if you look back through a lens of these are just really hidden Easter eggs of down low gayness.
Well, that's,
you really got to wonder, are conservative rednecks really mostly gay, and they just can't deal with it? And
to me, what has always been so, I know we've gone off track, but we've got to get into the next one before we take our last break. But but what is so disingenuous about this don't say gay drag queen, they're sexualizing kids. What's so disingenuous, anyone who's ever been a kid, and we all been a kid, growing up, you're exactly right, Jenny. If you're young, you are more sensitized and tantalized looking through the Montgomery Ward catalog at the underwear section, looking through the Sears catalog if you're, at the women in the bras, and growing up, going to wrestling, being in a room with your parents when this is probably before cable, but when a movie comes on where someone's kissing and you get that awkward silence where you're like, because it's just like, it's just awkward. If parents really, religious, conservative parents, the people who are doing all this movement, if they really wanted to protect their kids, they would keep them away from that. So have never, I mean, someone who remembers those years, looking at a drag queen as when we had Cece on our special about drag queens, they're in makeup, like a clown, they're entertainers. You know, they're not clowns, but they're entertainers. If that's what attracts you, that's not.
That's a whole different subject.
Yeah, exactly. It's a crazy.
We didn't have time to cover that, but I know where you're going with that.
Yeah, exactly. So
we don't even have
exactly.
time for that.
So let's go to our next competition. Our next competition is going to be Ted Cruz versus George Santos. So, Jenny, you go first. Make your case. Who do you think is the bigger queen? Ted Cruz. This is going to be a tough one. Ted Cruz or George Santos?
Oh, Ted Cruz, without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, first of all, he stood the test of time of saying inordinately dramatic, stupid stuff for a long period of time. He's been a senator for 11 years, something like that.
Yeah.
And consistently, like some kind of nuclear war survived cockroach, still hasn't been drunk out of the Texas Republican Party. I don't know how, because he's such a legend. And not to mention how Trump, did that soul-crushing remark about his wife, Ted Cruz's wife. Yeah. And Ted Cruz, 2 months later, literally he's bowing down and just kisses Trump's ass as soon as he gets in line. I mean, he does. Yeah. Like, you didn't even force him to do a public apology, nothing.
Yeah.
I would tell you what, you talk about a queen, you talk about a dramatic idiot. George Santos isn't going to be in Congress very long. He's going to get voted out. He doesn't get removed. He's going to get voted out the next cycle. He's already impeached himself. He's a con artist. I'm surprised Brazil hasn't come and picked him up for the fraud charges yet.
Yeah,
but that's probably on its way. But George Santos is too stupid to stand the test of time. And to me, a really good, embarrassing drama queen has to stand the test of time. And Rafael Cruz, Ted Cruz, is definitely, I mean, just the Cancun alone. Come on.
Yeah.
Queen, please. Like leaving his dog behind. I mean, the best parts when we're showing that picture of the dog sitting there looking through that side door window, going, I think it's behind.
You leave your dog to freeze
without the heater on. And you got Ted Cruz with this big old Texas mask on his face. He's going through the airport with dragging his bags behind him. And then blames his daughters. He said, well, my daughter's really working.
Yeah.
Well, then
crazy.
Why do we have you as a senator? Your daughters make all the decisions for you.
Exactly,
your minor daughters make all your household decisions when you go on vacation. In the middle of a huge natural disaster in Texas, in the middle of the ice.
Yeah.
In your state, you leave your dog behind, your daughters call the shots. You may not want to be a senator anymore.
Yeah.
You may not have the capacity to be a United States senator. Queen.
So
is a flyweight. He has no merit.
All right, so Ted Cruz gets your vote on that one, and then Barb, we'll go with you. Ted Cruz versus George Santos. Who would you give that title to?
Ted Cruz lost all my respect. Remember the Trump-Cruz debates, and they were bashing the hell out of each other, and then, like Jenny said, he just ripped his wife to pieces. If you're a man, you defend your wife. And I never liked him to start out with. After I lived in Texas, I didn't like him even more. But he just totally went off the grid for me. You don't stand up for your family and your wife. You are a nobody. And then he just kisses Trump's butt. A hypocrite. And then he was talking to some reporters in the airport. Well, you know how it is when you have two teenage girls just ragging on you. I'm like, are you kidding me? You're blaming it on your daughters? Spineless. I'm going to agree with Jenny again. Santos, the only reason he's still there is because McCarthy needs him. For what? I don't know. One vote. He's going to be gone. So there's no competition between those two. Santos, the Democrats blew it for not really vetting him, but that's a whole nother discussion. But
another discussion.
He is on my "you are not a human being" list. So,
okay, all right. So that one looks like Ted Cruz wins. So our first two winners of the Coffee and Pan Dulce Biggest Queen Show is the Proud Boys. They beat out the drag queens, and Ted Cruz beat out George Santos. There you go. We'll have to come up with little prizes for them. So with that, we'll be right back on. If you like what you're hearing, what Jenny is talking about, she does have a show that comes on 30 minutes after this. It drops at 11:30 every Wednesday. It's called Two Queers in a Truck. This next commercial, actually, we'll talk about that. So we'll be right back on Coffee and Pan Dulce right after this.
Up next is Two Queers in a Truck with Jenny and Christian. And hope you guys tune in. We'll see you in about 15 to 20 minutes. Thank you. Bye.
All right. Well, welcome back. And don't forget to watch Jenny's show. She talks about a lot of really good stuff. And one's called, it's called Two Queers in a Truck. This show, it's called The Pendejo Chronicles. And this is the Pendejo Chronicles. All right, here we go. The Pendejo Chronicles will be something that we start every week after our last break, and it will be just talking about we're gonna say exactly what some of our followers are telling us, their feedback. We hope you'll enjoy what they're saying. So Jenny, we'll let you do the first one if you have it queued up. These are what some of our followers have been saying about our show. It's called the Pendejo Chronicles. And Jenny, you do the first one. I'll do the second one. Go ahead.
Okay. This one is from a Bobby Metzner. And he was commenting on our MAGAs, big old sissies and queens and that episode. And his response or his post was, all the queens and sissies I know lean left. Now, there was a ton of laugh emojis. And another guy that responded, and he was actually making fun of Bobby, said, don't worry, we'll protect you. Basically, if you're really if you're that scared of queens and sissies, don't worry about it. But that's the kind of comments we get. It honestly, you can tell the guy didn't watch the show.
Yeah. Because
we're really just talking about how dramatic MAGAs are and all that. The second is you have to ask, he's admitted he knows a lot of queens and sissies.
That was exactly my thought. When I read that, my first response is basically he's saying, well, a lot of the guys that I suck off, they tell me. I mean, that's literally, I might have to edit that out. That's kind of extreme, but is that not?
You have to ask these questions when these idiots say stuff like this. I go, well, how are you an expert on sissies and queens unless you hang out with them? And that opens up a whole can of worms. I'm like, it sounds like somebody's playing a little dress up in their backyard, and having a little tea party or something. And it's a very, I don't think you realize how much of a cell phone that was until you'd already said it. And of course, people jumped on it, including, of course, of ourselves, because we're on it like a chubby kid on a cupcake. I mean, we're like, hey, this is a golden opportunity to make fun of this dude. But we really don't even have to make up stuff about MAGAs.
Yep.
Like they say stuff all the time.
So here's the second. Here's another one. On the show that on our last show that's been doing incredible. We knew it'd break records, and it's going to continue to break records. Mark J. Baker. That's the name they're using on their burner account, because most of them are burner accounts. You can tell because all the pictures are the same as all the other people's pictures. They never show their full face. They have them, Anyway, the next one, they're all old 70s, 80s pictures and stuff. He says, you socialists are so funny. I can show you some countries that you're trying to make the USA into. You won't be impressed after living there. That is one of the things that are being said about our show. And so I thought that was funny. And then another person, Rick Oburn, said, better than a bunch of Nazi Dems.
Wow.
Well, to address the socialist comment.
Yes, exactly.
In fact, I addressed it on to this guy.
Yeah.
I said, first of all, y'all make the claim that all government spending that they don't like is socialism.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, it's not. If you look up what socialism is, you will understand, or maybe, again, we're applying thinking, is that many of their little words that they've memorized, they don't know what the meanings are, is like woke and socialism and all this. Right? So they think that for some reason, in our past, our government's never spent any money on any government programs. Like our federal government got created last week. I'm going like, Social Security comes from Franklin Delano Roosevelt. That dude's been dead almost 100 years. He literally died.
That's so funny, Janet. Yeah.
45, like decades before I was born.
Yeah.
Okay. Like government programs have existed since we've had a government in 1790. Okay.
Yeah.
So I hate to break it to you, but government spending isn't classical socialism. And
it's,
and there's no completely socialist country in the world, including communist China. Communist China has a mixed economy. It's mostly capitalistic. There are more
definitely,
there is more billionaires and more capitalism in China than there is in the United States. They have almost twice as many billionaires. The United States is what they refer to as a mixed economy. We have some social programs. The military is our biggest social program, by the way. It's the most socialistic spending that we do. Second of all, the biggest socialist governmental spending presidents have all in the last 50 years
have been Republicans.
The Republicans.
Yeah.
The only president in the last 50 years that balanced the budget was
Bill Clinton.
And the deficit and the budget always go down under Democrats.
Okay.
And
hey, Jen.
It's crazy.
Let me read a couple more of these because we could do other we do whole shows on what their comments. I'm just going to read you a couple of more comments from the last show that we did. That's got a lot of reaction. As we were taping this show, someone posted, LOL, Willem Lawler posted this. LOL, if you want to see Karens, queens, and fruitcakes, you merely need to look in the mirror. That's the problem with the left. You are so detached from reality, you have absolutely no self-awareness. You are societal outliers. Okay, that's what that person says.
Calling the kettle black, right there.
Yes. Exactly. So Richard Brisky said, "Troll and bot time, you fucking scumbags."
Whoa.
Yes. So basically, so we're going, yeehaw, more clicks.
Well, and these guys and MAGAs in general always
what? Tell us more. Tell us more.
They're like the children in school who go,
yes.
I know what I am, so are you type response,
Exactly. Yeah.
So Jenny, hold on one second. I'm going to read you these real quickly. Then you can comment. And then we're going to end the show. Michael Fusion said, Hillary still will not be president.
Where did that come from?
Exactly. Edward Hahn says, Dems suck. Benny Nichols says, Democrats have become the most corrupt, lying, stupid ass politicians in American history and have their supporters. Ronald Higley says,
here, dude.
if Ronald Higley says, bunch of dumbasses show. And of course, there's quite a lot of them. And then, there's quite a lot of comments like this. To me, the reason we wanted to start this thing, because first of all, thank you for, please keep sharing us your thoughts, and thank you for sharing your feedback. Keep sharing this, because as Jenny always says, that's the reason we have 7,000 viewers on that one show that we're doing. The MAGA people, and they're going to catch on to this eventually. Do they not know that we want to trigger them?
No, they do. And by the way, let me set the record straight. I'm an independent voter, not a Democrat.
Exactly.
Oh, I don't want to be classified with their one. How many times do I have to keep saying it, you moron?
It's just
listen.
The majority of the people that are commenting on our page obviously don't watch the show. Clearly, and I'm amazed how stupid they sound. Actually, I'm not amazed. But most importantly, every comment they make, and that, again, they are an exceptionally dumb group of people. When you comment on our show, and this is how all social media works, you move up the algorithm. You make us more popular.
Exactly.
No matter what you say, you can say F you, I love you. It doesn't matter. The moment you post on somebody's posts, you bump us up. You make us seen more. Because why is social media companies like Meta that owns Facebook and Instagram does that? Is they want people to put content that will go viral, that will get clicks. Because they sell that data. They sell that activity to their advertisers. They say, hey, look, this thing's 14,000. This is the clicks and the feedback is of great value to the social media companies. It's how they generate revenue, ad revenue. How they, certain billions of clicks. That's why you'll get, more people will see your ad, sort of thing. And it's just like old Nielsen ratings for TV. If a show's more popular, they can charge more for the TV commercials. Primetime shows.
Jenny, I completely agree with you, but I think exactly. But what's even more bizarre about this whole thing is, and this is one of the things that we can always trust the MAGA people and MAGA Republicans and this era that Trump brought in. You can always trust them, because if you want anything to go viral, you just have to use their own words. Whenever they record Karens and all those kind of people, those are the ones that go viral. Or B, you just play to their, I don't know that many, I don't know that many progressives, liberals, or even independent people that go on to MAGA sites and say, you're just this. We don't spend our time listening to people that we don't actually follow. You know what I mean? And so it is this very interesting dynamic. Well, so with that said, let's go ahead and end our show. I want to thank everyone for joining us, and thank you for making last week's show one of our biggest shows, and it's made our last 28 days an incredible for listeners and viewers. We'll go around the Brady Bunch screen in 30 seconds or less. Tell us where you're going to be the week that this airs. The week. So you go first, Jen.
I don't have any specific plans for that week. I will say, support your local schools, support your public education. It's definitely under attack. Support your school board members that are doing the right thing and keeping public education and reading and librarians and literacy alive. Don't let it die.
Exactly. Okay, I will be local most of the week, thank God. And I think we have a foundation thing, but I'm not sure. Other than that, I'm just going to chill out a little bit. I'm recovering from a sinus infection, and I'm going to rest. Yeah, right. I'll try.
You're muted. You're muted. You are muted. You're still muted.
Sorry about that.
There you are.
That was actually good. I will be camping. I know where, but I will be camping. All right. Well, thank y'all. We'll see you next week. And on next week's show, we'll have someone from the North Carolina Museum talking about the Green Book. So we'll be back next week on Coffee and Pan Dulce. Bye, y'all. Let's see if we do this here. Did that work? All right. Well. Okay.
Hey, y'all. Thanks for watching Coffee and Pan Dulce. And get out there and read a book. Be well. And have a great day.
Bye, y'all.
Next up, thanks for watching Coffee and Pan Dulce. Next up is Two Queers in a Truck. Stay tuned.
Coffee and Pan Dulce. How's that? Coffee and Pan Dulce.
Sounds
You
great.
sounded like a telenova. I mean,
I'm trying to. All I have to say is go. Yes.
as a non-Spanish speaker.
That sounds so professional the way I said that.
You did. You didn't even do it in your host voice.
I know. That's also professional. Okay. All right. Well, welcome back. And don't forget to watch Jenny's show. She talks about a lot of really good stuff. And it's called Two Queers in a Truck. So we have a new segment that starts today on this show. It's called Pan Dulce. I'm sorry. New segment on this show. It's called The Pendejo Chronicles. Okay, so we're going to pause here. Edit this out.
Appointment at 10:30, you guys.
Okay.
Only right across the street, but
No, we're going to close down here. We'll edit that little section out. Okay, ready? Here we go.